No worries.
How different is that playbook, Ken?
Right now we're just we're exploring everything. It's the fun part of the off season where you got to be a little bit careful not to go too far one way or the other. We're still with all the new guys and some of the pieces that we've added and then that type of stuff. You got to build your foundation just like every other year and make sure your core stuff is your core stuff and. Those guys can execute that stuff in their sleep and then, continue just to expand and add your wrinkles, add, subtract. And that's the fun part about it. It's like figure out what you think was good for you, figure out the stuff that you could do away with, and that way your volume stays manageable.
Josh said, he said it a few times now that, the continuity here is very comfortable for him because he's used to you and you know what works for him. But how much do you think you're gonna stray from what Dable's foundation was? Like how many tweaks do you think you're gonna have for this offense?
Yeah, I mean, everybody. Whenever you come in, you always have your spin on things and your way of doing things. So, are there going to be some different things? Probably. Are there going to be a lot of stuff that's the same? Probably. It's just you never really know kind of how a season's going to unfold until the first couple weeks. I mean, it's like, until then you just don't have a full grasp of like those new pieces that the personnel that you've got. Like, what do you do? Extremely well when the bullets start flying and everything like that, So you have a vision, but what I think the most successful coaches do is, they have that vision, but they're able to adjust and do some different things kind of as the season unfolds and declares, just through whether it's, guys that are up or down or guys that, are new to us that you say, oh, well, that guy does that pretty good, so we might be a little bit more over here, or the line does this really well, so we're going to be a little bit over there. But you tend not to really find that stuff out completely until it's live game action.
So how much of that, Coach, how do you morph and kind of change the vision, your initial vision, as you stated, as you get more and more time on the field with this, with the new pieces in particular? Is it just a weekly thing that you review and then make changes for the following week? Is it ever unfold? I mean, it's ever unfolding, but
Yeah.
how does it morph and change through the course of this offseason?
Yeah, no doubt. I think the best coaches are the ones who are constantly evaluating what they're doing. What's good, what doesn't fit you. Doesn't mean it's bad stuff. It just means it doesn't fit your personnel that year. And we all know with free agency and draft and everything, those things could come back next year or 2 years from now or whatever. So, or as the season goes, So I think you're constantly evaluating kind of your not really philosophy, but kind of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and always looking for better ways to improve, improve the team and improve what you're doing and how you're doing it.
What would you call your relationship with the fact that you have worked with Josh? He actually recommended you for this. He wanted you for this. How beneficial is that, and knowing what this offense is somewhat capable of, knowing those different pieces?
It doesn't hurt, it definitely helps to have a good idea of Josh and then all the personnel. And that's where it's been nice being down on the field too on game days, getting a feel for Steph and Gabe and Mitch and Dawson and all these guys, and kind of how guys react to certain situations. That's been really helpful to me throughout this whole thing, is just that communication back and forth that would happen on the sidelines amongst, the players that then would get relayed to Dave's upstairs, So I think all that has been very helpful for me. And obviously, my relationship with Josh and I feel like a good feel for him on kind of how he reacts to things and the things he likes, the things he doesn't like, and I think all that's really important.
Is it fair to say you're not going to reinvent the wheel, though? I mean, knowing what this offense has done over the past, couple of years with Josh, once he got to that level of him leading this passing.
Well, I mean, we've got a core of what our philosophy is, and that's worked for us, and but at the same time, you've got to be able to evolve in this game. You got to be able to do some different things to keep defenses off balance and force them to react to you and not you reacting to them.
What is your style of play calling, and what have you learned under Coach
Yeah, I mean, I think my style is kind of similar to Dave's philosophy. Is like, what do we have to do to win the game? You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to. Whether it's one more point, 3 more points, 7, 4, whatever it is. Like, the philosophy comes down to like, what do we have to do to win the game? Whether it's run, whether it's pass, whether it's, a field position game, whether it's outscore them game. You know what I mean? Like, all that matters is trying to figure out ways to score at least one more point than your opponent, and that's what we're going to do. All the other stuff is stuff that just kind of comes up naturally throughout the course of calling a game and the flow of the game.
What was that few days like for you when Ryan gets named head coach? You have to go through the process, the interview. You may have had other things going on out there. What was that like for you personally and professionally?
No, I mean it's something you look forward to as a coach. You welcome that opportunity because it's something that I was hoping for and really kind of wanting to achieve. That's the one thing I've always kind of wanted to be is the play caller and the guy kind of putting things together. And I just love, I love ball. I love, coaching football. I love the game planning, coaching guys and being out on the field and putting a plan together and all that stuff. So like, I love what I do. And I feel like this has, been a great blessing for me to be able to be up here and now have this opportunity to lead the offense.
What's the transition been like, not spending all of your time with Josh and knowing you have to kind of distribute your time on the field during practices to the entire offense?
Honestly, there's sometimes it's like, it's like that Talladega nights where I don't know what to do with my hands, So like sometimes you're just like, what am I supposed to do right now? More so like individual out in the field. It's like you kind of end up walking in a circle, just. But a lot of times you end up kind of gravitating back towards the quarterbacks a little bit. But I've definitely tried to make a concerted effort this year to be in each room. I think that's important because, guys, they know me, but they don't know me. You know what I mean? I don't think they kind of understand what makes me tick sometimes, my pet peeves or my, my competitiveness or whatever it is. I think a lot of those guys get that because I've been down the field with them. But, I think it's important to be in every room and be a part of each position group and kind of what they're doing and what they're teaching and to show that, I'm on the same page as all these guys who we've brought in and who are great coaches who are coaching them.
And you kind of touched on this earlier, talking about Josh and your relationship with him, but just, how beneficial is it the fact that you're taking over this position and you have an established quarterback and a guy that you've had this relationship? Just, how has it evolved over the years and how beneficial is that to have that foundation in place?
No, obviously, I think it's very beneficial. I think it's a great, opportunity to just kind of hit the ground running, because there's not that feel out period of trying to figure out, hey, how does he see this or versus how do I see it? I talk with the quarterbacks a lot of, the philosophy of or the intent of the play. So when you're calling something, I think it's so important that the quarterback has to know why you're calling it. What's the intent of the reason why you're calling it? Is it a shot play? Is it more of a completion type play? And building that trust level of, them understanding that so they can make a good decision based off that situation in the game, So I think there's that constant communication. There's that constant kind of feeling out process back and forth. But I feel like we got a great head start because, we spent so much time together and gone through and had these conversations, in the past.
Ken, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Joe Brady, the early impressions of that relationship and him coming with some offensive coordinator experience?
No, yeah, I think it's been great. Not only Joe, but all those guys like, Cromer and, Joe, especially obviously as the main additions to position coaches. I thought it was, extremely important to have guys with great experience, and the different things that they bring to the table from an experience standpoint. And the exciting thing is not necessarily within this system, from other systems. So now you can kind of pull some ideas from some other systems and say, how does it fit and blend with yours, from a X and O standpoint or a philosophical standpoint. So, it's great to have guys who have been in this position, who understand kind of, the need to adjust, or the need to just say, hey, no, that we're going to do it this way, and they respect that. And I think that's important. So they've been great. Joe's been awesome, in terms of fitting in well in the quarterback room and just hungry to learn kind of the way we do things while putting his own spin on it, which I think is important so he could take ownership of that room.
Coach, as excited as you are to sit in this chair, how do you balance remaining unpredictable to your opponent with volume and not,
Yeah.
compromising execution with the volume of stuff that you might have?
I think that's a constant battle every offense face, And the nice thing about it is for us is we've got a lot of different ways of doing it with, whether it's personnel packages, formations, or, splits or route adjustments. So, we've got a lot of different ways to kind of do our core stuff. And that's the exciting part about it, because we've got things that I think the guys believe in, that when you call, they have, no matter what the situation is, they have the utmost confidence in executing it.
So it's almost like controlling the volume with variety.
Yeah, I think it's always a balance of, a lot of times you get asked, well, how many plays do you have on your call sheet? Well, it varies, So is there that exact number that you have? No, but I think the more you do this, the more you kind of have a feel for what's the right amount, what's getting to be too much.
I know it's been 2 decades, I apologize, but when you go back to your Miami days, you had so much talent on offense, and you had to learn how to distribute, all that kind of, how does that help you walk into a room in an offense with so much talent on offense?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely something that kind of, everybody builds from their experiences, and everybody kind of evolves as a coach from past experiences, and whether good, bad, or indifferent, So obviously, I think that's helped me in terms of being able to understand that, hey, when you've got great playmakers and you've got great talent, it's just, hey, how do we get them in space? What are the best ways to get them the ball? At times, don't overcomplicate that. Let those guys, be who they are and do what they do, and I think that's all part of that.
You've got multiple guys on your staff, like calling experience, you talked about Joe, and obviously Nicola, but, and how do you go about figuring out what your play calling style is, like what you want to do? You've got a lot of perspectives, a lot of people have done it, Dable, everyone.
No doubt.
How do you kind of figure out yours?
At the end of the day, you just got to do it. That's what it comes down to. Can I put a finger on right now, like, hey, this is exactly what I'm going to be? No. It's like you've got to go out and you got to do it, and you got to be able to, just kind of get in a rhythm of calling plays, on your own. And when things are going well, it's easy. But when, it's those highs and lows in the course of a game and everything where you just kind of stay steady and figure it out, and it's a lot of practice and trial by error and kind of doing it by yourself in your office and all that stuff, to try to be as prepared as possible for week one.
I was going to say, how do you practice that? Like, what do you do is it literally calling a fake, like?
No, yeah, you just kind of go through it and you just kind of call it, and give yourself different situations and things like that, and just, practice kind of calling it so it becomes as close to, the real thing in at least your mind as possible.
Some coaches will even practice the national anthem. In the locker room, we're going to go out there, this is how we're going to stand. How are you able, and I think it's Elena's question a little deeper, how are you able to replicate what it's going to be like the very first time?
Right,
Obviously,
yeah.
you have preseason games, but
Well, one, you do it in practice. You have periods that it might be unscripted in practice, and you're just calling plays. And I think Sean does a great job giving me those opportunities in the course of practice, whether it's a walkthrough kind of tempo or not. So we've talked about that of having some periods like that throughout. So having those experiences of being able to call it in practice and those types of things. Obviously, preseason games are great opportunities to kind of get a feel there a little bit too on a smaller scale. And then just going through a game, buzzing through a game, and just calling it like you're off the film, and just getting the random down distances that way. So, you try to just find different ways to be creative with it, whether it's somebody else just giving you down and distances as you're, installing stuff in a walkthrough, and as a call-up period. So, there's a lot of different ways you could try to do it, that we're trying to find, just kind of continue to grow in that aspect.
How would a more improved offense, how would a more improved rushing attack balance on this offense?
I think that at the end of the day, we're just going to, again, it kind of goes back to doing whatever we have to do to win. You know what I mean? So I think obviously, you want to be able to maximize every tool in your tool belt. So when people ask, like, well, what are the things you're working on this off season? What are the specific things? Well, the view I take it of, okay, if you're focusing on this one little thing here, you're forgetting about all these things over here. You know what I mean? So we're trying to focus on us as an offense right now and developing us as an offense right now, whether it's the run game, whether it's the pass game, and continue to grow like that. And I think, having Coach Cromer here has been great in terms of, the run game, but also, pass blocking and play actions and all the stuff that goes along with that.
You spend a lot of time on the sidelines as a player. How much experience, have you thought about being up front, up top, calling the play, if that's indeed where you're going to be? You spend a ton of time on the field.
Yeah.
Not so much maybe you did earlier in your career up in the booth, I don't know. But tell us about that. That's going to be an adjustment.
No, yeah. And, right now, not sure kind of how that's going to look, in terms of whether it's up in the box or on the field, to be honest with you. I think we're going to try both and see what's most comfortable with and roll with that, So as of right now, I think all I'm doing right now is just trying to figure out, tomorrow and the best way to proceed with, the installs and the development and the continued growth of this offense. And then, once we get into those preseason games, really kind of buckle those types of things down, in terms of whether it's box or down the field.
Ken, I'm not sure what your vision was, going back to 2001, 02, or 03, just where you saw yourself at this point. And how, was this something that you foresaw or you aspired to, and how have you kind of evolved through the ups and downs of your career, going from the high of winning a national championship to, being a 7th round pick, to, having your final season in the CFL to where you are now?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you just try to control what you can control, and whether it's the draft and, again, draft in the 7th round or whatever it is, you just try to control what you control, I've always kind of taken the mindset for myself that nothing's really ever been given to me. I've had to, go out and just fight and scratch and claw to earn everything, because I wasn't always obviously the most physically gifted quarterback or anything like that, but I had to work at it, and put in time and, kind of push guys and figure out, buttons to push on teammates and things like that. So, then obviously playing in the years that I played in the NFL was, there were some good times, and then obviously, we were on some rough teams. So, that kind of inner desire, that inner flame or whatever, I think kind of gets a little bit stronger when you're used to kind of one thing and things don't really work out your way, So I think that just kind of pushes you and drives you even more, and and it really kind of motivates you. Yeah.
How does that help your rapport with Josh? He's a guy, okay, sure he's a first round draft pick, but he's a guy who also hasn't been given a lot of things, and he's had to persevere. How did that maybe help your rapport in building your rapport with Josh?
Yeah, I think the thing that helps is obviously, one, I think we're both extremely competitive, and both have kind of a similar, philosophy in terms of, we both want to do whatever it takes to help our team win, whatever role that is, whatever we have to do, and I think that's the thing I love about Josh is like, he's got that mentality of, he wants to do whatever he can to for this team to be successful.
How big a voice does level, now you're high, but you know him. Does his voice change with you in a way that it wasn't? with
No,
Dale?
I mean, I think you'd be crazy as a coordinator not to have the input of your quarterback or the guys, on the offense, Now, is there going to be times where, it's like, well, no, Josh, we're going to do it this way, but here's why. You know what I mean? So I think there's going to be a lot of that input back and forth with me and him because he's got a great feel for the game and a great mind for the game.
How has that changed? You were there, Dave. You saw him when he didn't know what he was looking at.
Right.
How's that changed?
No, I think, I don't think that his input's going to change a lot because I think Dave's and I have similar, mind frames in terms of that, in terms of, I think it's important to get guys' input and, the more they play out there, the more they see, the quicker they're reacting, the quicker they're, the more they understand the game. And I think that's where Josh is getting to.
My question was, when he started, I want to get, you saw him from start to finish, where he was as a rookie, where he is now, and how his knowledge and ability to contribute.
No, I see what you're saying. So I think, yeah. So when he first started, obviously I caught him in year 2. So the first year, you're just trying to figure things out, trying to learn the offense and go out and do it. I think the more he's gotten the grasp for the offense, you kind of see that over time. He's really done a great job on spending time to learn the intricacies of it. And I think you see that, throughout time. In year 2, he really kind of took a step, in terms of learning the protections and learning the overall philosophies of the why we're doing things. Then in year 3, he kind of took that next step of, the run game ownership and those types of things, and just grasping the overall philosophy of, okay, against, in this concept, against this coverage, what are we kind of thinking versus this coverage, what are we kind of thinking? So that evolution of, just the understanding of the offense, I think has been extremely important for him and great. And again, I do think the more they play, those guys who have been in the league for 10, 12, 15 years, they know a lot of times pre-snap based off the play, the coverage they're getting, and a lot of times where the ball's going. So they're able to react a lot quicker instead of thinking, and I think he's started to really get to that point.
Ken, the one thing that Sean has really stressed for the past few years is maintaining the threat to run. What is that? How important is that to your philosophy, your vision?
Well, again, I think every game kind of evolves differently as the game goes on, so I think the biggest thing is, you've always got to be able to, have that threat of being able to run the football and be physical and all that. And I think that's something that the physicality aspect of we preach, not only the run game, but in the pass game, and of, finishing runs and staying on schedule so that you have that threat so that you can constantly keep a defense off balance. All right. Thanks, guys.